The most important thing about this drill is accuracy. So when I go to throw the hook, I'm not going to go and move away. Every time, you should be touching. That was a good shot there. So every time, and that's why you have gloves on, you're not going to hurt your partner. Make a proper fist, no open hands, make a proper fist, and touch the target, okay? I don't mind about speed, power, anything like that. These drills are all about accuracy. Okay, 3, 2, 1.
Real quick, let's go. Let's go, bring it in, listen up. Coach Kavanagh and I were just having a conversation a little while ago about what coaches often talk about, which is how we can help people get better and what defines people who get better quickly. And obviously all of you are here taking my class here at the camp. You all want to get better at fighting and at training jiu-jitsu. And those qualities that are real important aren't usually what most people think of, but one of them is maximizing your time, right? So you have 2 or 3 minute round, that's a short round, and you want to let your body experience as much of that round as possible. And you can get a whole lot out of 3 or 4 minutes, or you can get almost nothing out of 3 or 4 minutes. So absolutely the most important thing this weekend is that you establish new friendships and make connections with people here. That is by far what this is all about, big picture wise. But during the training, you don't want to be having a conversation. So one thing, at my gym in Portland, the students aren't talking during the drill rounds. Because you can train like this. Let me have you guys down. You have a 3 minute round, go ahead. I give my instructions.
Just give my belt.
Yeah. You guys are all training now. These guys are here.
What do you want to do? Oh yeah, that's pretty good. That's good.
Retie that belt.
Show you something else.
Good. Right? So, exactly. Now they're having a conversation. Perfect, good. Now we can stop being the bad students. So technically that's what it means if you guys see on the list of rules when we talk about sideline coaching. That's coaching your training partner during the round. You might even be a brown belt, they might be a blue belt, but I'll give you real clear instructions. There's going to be lots of time during my class where I want you guys to communicate with each other, to help each other out, to tell your partner if something feels right or doesn't feel right, because usually you as their partner are the best person on the mat to be able to adjust it for them once you understand what's going on. But when I say you're going to do a competitive drill round, just try and focus. Don't try and talk or do anything else, and get as much out of that round as you can. And I think you're going to find you enjoy the class more, and you're going to get a lot more out of it. Okay? So I'm going to give you guys another chance, but I want to add one thing, which is a choke I think probably most everybody here knows, and has, some of you probably use it a little bit, and some of you might use it a lot. But everybody here is familiar with a paper cutter choke, right? Okay? Gus, can I have you do a paper cutter to Travis? You don't have to teach it, just demo real quick. Beautiful. So that's usually the classic variation of it. Everybody familiar with that? Okay, so you're bringing your hand around here. Good. We're going to do one more round. Well, one more thing I would say. As much as possible, usually I like to train with eyes closed, because that gives you even more of a chance. Jiu-jitsu is all about feel, right? Gives you even more of a chance to feel it. Here we can't do that because there's too many and I don't want you to run into each other, so it's a safety issue. But try and imagine just paying more attention to your tactile sense than what you're seeing. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing. Person on top is going to try as hard as they can to stay there. Person on bottom is going to try as hard as they can to escape. I will tell you when to switch. The only difference is I want the person on top to hunt for that paper cutter. Okay? If you paper cutter them 10 times that round, awesome. If you don't get it, that's fine, as long as you try. I want you to go for it. Got it? Go!
We're going to apply this same chin to shoulder connection for the scarf hold, because some of the guys that are working scarf hold now with a lot of the material that like Matt and John have been putting out, the scarf has just become just horrific, and Stephen as well. It's just crushing pressure. And in order to, best utilize this, because this is like what's allowing me to survive in those positions for a hell of a lot longer than I used to be able to, when somebody applies this correctly, right? So I want to make sure that everyone's got the basic feeling of a decent scarf hold, okay? So the first thing for me with the scarf hold is I'm going to connect, and there's different people talk about how I'm going to sit on the mat for now, so I'm not working John over. So when I put this hand, the way I work it, some people talk about bringing this up and connecting the knee here low. I personally like going here. It doesn't really matter as long as there's no real space, and I don't allow this to open up at any point, because this is ultimately, for me, what John would like to do is to open this frame up from the bottom. So I want to be keeping this super tight all the time. So there's no space. What I'm working on is there's no space in here, in this line. Do you see that? So I'm not like this, because my major concern is that he's going to get that elbow to the mat and start using this space. So I want to take this space out. Okay, so that's the first thing. The second thing when I'm doing scarf is I want to be thinking again about not having my chin up in the air. Right? I see this happen a lot, particularly when people are transitioning back for like the neck crank finishes. They leave the head up, and I don't want him getting under my neck. So I connect to my shoulder, and then I put my head down. Okay, and this is also kind of good because it's just protecting my head, right? So he can't now get this arm in, right? If he does, he risks arm locks. Yeah, So I don't want that, right? This is precisely why I'm putting this down, right? And then the next bit is obviously I'm going to be taking my hips off of the mat, okay? And I don't want to be pulling hard, like this is my way of doing this. I don't want to be pulling this arm up, because when I pull this arm up, I'm actually giving John's underhook like even more connection, right? Because this is an underhook. So as he starts doing all the things where he's going to start gripping and getting under my ribs, and I start pulling this up, he's controlling me. Okay, so I just for now want to be like this. I'm taking all of the space away. Okay, and this is like my base position to begin with. And then as I feel John start to move around, there's like two major escapes that they're typically going to do. They're either going to try and go to their knees, right? Or they're going to start sort of walking his head. He'll start walking his head in towards my hips in order to create space and take the angle away. Okay, so I'm here. I'm keeping this actually loose. Okay, and I'm going to start now to turn this, and I'm using my toe and my heel until I flatten, just like this. So this is like my kind of like base position. If I feel this is coming loose at all, walk your knee up. And I'm using my heel and my toe as I'm transitioning. I want to be conscious all the time of keeping this head down so you can't get this in. I'm just trying to turn my hips now this way. Yep, and he's beginning to tap, right? The pressure's horrible, right? So has everyone got that? Do you want to see it again? Yeah, should I switch it sides? Will that help? I'm terrible this side, but...
It'll help me.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
It's okay.
Do you want me to switch out?
No, it's good.
Right, okay.
I like feeling it.
So, head, frame, here, no space at all. Head to head. Try and resist the temptation of this shoulder. So I'm going to basically control here. And then I'm walking my toe and my heel up. Okay, and I'm flattening my back. Yep. Has everyone got that? So let's give that a go again. We'll just do it like 3 for 3. Don't be too brave on your neck, right? In years gone by, we've always, it's just not, but if you're feeling any compression, just tap. It's just not worth it, right? That's the sign your partner's doing this well, and then we're gonna start fixing this in order to defend it properly using these, okay? So let's do our 3, 2, 1.
Another place where I use the iron blanket. The iron pillow was so good when he was on my back and I was here,
try to choke me or seatbelt me. Gi or no gi, it's not going to happen. But what we were giving up is this, the blanket. And then he has to do the arm bar, you know, and yes, I'm funneling him. I know what he's doing. I'm funneling and go, 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 go. And so it's not that hard for me to start doing this, but it's a scramble, and I realize that, you know, it's not ideal. If it happens, you should be ready for it. And all your armbar escapes are all your armbar escapes from there. But I was like thinking, well, I don't feel the need to give up the pillow. Why do I think this needs to be given up, right? And so this is one of the very, 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 very few things. I made up maybe 3 or 4 new things in my life, and someone else has done them, but what I mean by made them up, no one showed them to me. And I ran it by a few people, coaches I know online. I took it to Henry in LA, and people were like, yeah, it looks solid. So, and I've been having success with it. So that's what we're here for, right? Share the updated software. So instead of thinking that this is a lost cause, like he'll run around to my back. Boom, he gets to my back. I should be here. This is what I should be doing. But I brain farted a little bit. So instead of just thinking I have to give this, what I've been doing is coming here. So what am I doing? This, something like this, is locking an open door. Relying on grips is locking an open door. If Coach Steve is my size or bigger, he's just gonna rip this open. Go ahead. It's a matter of time. It's a matter of time until that breaks. It's a locked door that's open, right? What I want you guys to do is shut that door. And when I shut a grip, it's wrist. I grip with my wrist, not with my fingers. The wrist is closing the door. The fingers are locking the door, okay? So I want to be wrist deep and then just a little lock so it doesn't come out too easily, right? And I want you guys all to let the person go on your back and just play here a little bit. Go ahead. And here's the adjustments I want you to make. If Coach Steve is resting, I am resting. 0 unnecessary tension. If Coach Steve is attempting to choke me, I use this foot to put weight into my ear. Try to get under my ear, yeah. It's this foot driving into my ear. If Coach Steve is attempting to unlock this door, it's what he said. I'm looking at my palm and retracting my scapula, right? My elbow is buried in my hip. There is nothing for him. This is not an arm wrestling match. There's nothing for him to wrestle with, right? And then he rests, I rest. There's no tension here until I need it. So if he's riffing on my ear with his hand, I'll put a little weight in my ear. If he starts riffing on this, my neck is just completely relaxed. And I'm just engaging this a little bit. And just get in there, and Coach Steve will go down and work both sides because you need to be ambidextrous here. But don't worry about escaping, right? Worry about surviving first. Exactly. So it's like I'm getting nothing here, but if I'm just all about this, he's using the mat to put his weight here. If I'm all about this, he's just retracting and giving me no handles, nothing to pull out of here, right? And we'll just, you don't try to kill each other and don't, or anything. But, if he were too relaxed, my job is to be like, dude, I can get in. And he'd be like, oh yeah, I got to put a little weight from my limb. And if there was a big hole here, I'm like, dude, I'm in. And he'd go, oh yeah, I got to bury my elbow into my hip. You're just confirming positions and checking positions for each other. You're not working on, cauliflower earring your way under his head or anything. Okay, good. 1, 2, 3.
The reason I know all this because I love the hip bump sweep. I'm pretty good at it, and so I've encountered most of the counters. So that's the most common one, is people just bear hug me and try to drive me back to the floor, okay? 2, not very smart, but also happens pretty frequently is, people have this traditional hand position, right? And so when you take that angle and sit up, they put their hand in your chest, yeah? This is dumb for you on top, okay? Don't do this. If she's here, this is good. If I can keep her here with this hand, it's good. But the minute this happens, this is analogous to this. Lay back down. Here, you're either all in or all out. It's too late now. If I fight back to posture here, I get submitted. That's why having your posture broken is bad. It's not because this by itself is bad. It's because stupid people do this and climb themselves back up to where they should have been. If you're here, stay here. But if you're here, go here. Don't try to climb back. And here's why. So she sits up, and now it's the same, but she's come to me instead of me going to her. And now I do the same thing, and I try to push her back down. Ah, yes. Every time. Did you guys see that? She's fast, right? She's fast. You know why? She has a good coach. Okay? So she sits up. I put my hand on her chest. Watch what happens. I want to put her there. Where do you think she's going? Over here. Earlier, softer. Thank you. I didn't make that up, he did. So I'm here. I push her. Slow this time. Jeez, she's strong too. So that's what we're going to do next. And if you don't know how to do an armbar from guard bottom, I think this is the best way to learn it. It's better than climbing. When was the last time you submitted a jiu-jitsu guy with a climbing armbar? Never. It'll never happen. It's too hard to do that. You have to catch them with this. She sits up. Watch. That's how you armbar somebody. Right? I'll do it because she's too quick. Angle. Sit up. She puts her hand on my chest. Now watch this arm. Here. The elbow. Not here. Never here. Here. This leg, and Frankl actually brought this up to me too. This leg is the one that arm bars them. Not the one over their face. It's the one in their armpit. Watch this leg. That's the armbar leg. This doesn't matter. You guys see that? This leg matters. Here. Here. She's going to push me back on my back. But I'm going to go that way, and this leg is going to climb up her arm. That's the leg that matters. Okay, on 3, 1, 2, 3.
I'm going to give him the response I want him to do, and that is, when I start pushing him off, he's actually going to go away from me, like he's, as what happened in Dylan's fight, as if you're thinking more of a striker mentality, you want to go away so you can get back to your feet and start striking again. I will also cover when somebody comes back in, but you'll see why for ease of teaching. We're going to do the first one is when they go away. Okay, it's the same response both ways anyway. So John again, please. All right, so using my legs and or my arms, I pull, I misdirect, and at this stage here, I'm going to hug his leg and drop my knee towards the mat here. This will become important later on, you'll see. But for now, all I want you to get is that your shin is against his hip. My knee is not on the outside like this. My knee is on the inside, and my hands, if you can, be towards his knee. I hug here, ear nice and tight, and now my opposite leg will come over, and you can bite towards the far hip, or just his leg. I like to go towards the far hip. So John's running away from me, okay? We call this one the ex-girlfriend. I'm not saying why or anything, just you can make up your own mind. So pull, redirect, and at that stage there, John, if you just want to freeze, John is getting away from me, he's not putting his weight onto me, and my knee drops in, my shin is going across his hip, I hug his knee, pinch, my ear is close to his calf muscle, outside leg comes over, and I squeeze everything. Knees are pinched, heels are pinched, elbows are pinched, everything is tight. A big part of your no-gi game is what we call squeezy cardio. You have to be able to squeeze for long periods of time. One more time. So here, pull, redirect, drop, and squeeze. Here. Okay, so quick story time. When I started doing fighting, I really liked the straight foot lock, straight ankle lock. So you can see you're going into a position there where you could start wrapping up the leg, whether it's a straight foot lock or a heel hook. And that was fine until I fought somebody who was able to grapple. And then it all went horribly wrong. Because in Ireland, I was just fighting, people that didn't know anything. And I was somewhat close to being a blue belt, which basically meant I was God. Sadly then, Jiu-jitsu spread around Ireland, now I can't like beat people up all the time easily. But where I really learned, I almost learned not to go for the footlock in this position was when I met Matt. So how I actually met Matt in the first place was I was fighting in South Africa and the motherfucker was cornering my opponent. So that's how I met him. So during the contest we got into a bit of a scramble and I hit a footlock position and I was like, oh great, nobody knows how to defend these things. And the guy was good grappler and he had good wrestling and he got up on top of me and he was hitting me and I was going for it. And then just when I thought I had it, I was being woken up in the backstage. Really. I was like, did he tap? Did he tap? We have some bad news for you, John. And your nose is on the wrong way now. So I say I almost learned from that incident. I didn't quite, you know, if anything, I'm stupid. So I needed more evidence to stop me going for the footlock on that side. And that came in the shape of Chris Connolly. So way back when, to be a SBG instructor, you had to do a fight. And at one of the training camps, for some reason, he's about 150 pounds heavier than me, but I got matched up. I got matched up with Chris, and we had a bit of a tussle. I got into a footlock position. I was like, oh, great, he won't know how to defend this. Turns out he did. Same thing, got on top of me, beat the hell out of me, and after a few minutes of getting battered, I guess Matt had some small little bit of compassion and he said, stop. And that was the end of that. And I always remember, I was walking off the mat and I didn't know Adam at the time. We're good friends now, but for many years I was upset with him because just as I walked past him, in the way he can only do it, he just shrugged the shoulder and went, that was stupid. Three people clapped there, okay. Anyway, so all of that is to come back to this position, which is one of the most important things I'll show you from this attack was getting the foot onto the opposite side. So now, don't teach any more trying to attack the leg on the same side you grab it, always get it onto the opposite side. And there's, if you know the inverted heel hook game and stuff like that, there's good reasons to do it. It's a really nice attack. But most importantly, it's very, very difficult for the person to do any ground and pound when their leg is on the opposite side. So from getting knocked down in South Africa to getting bullied by a very overweight Chris Connolly to being mentally abused by Adam, it's sat in. Okay, so let's do the next part.
Now the thing about fundamentals is you see it and then you're like, oh, I got it, and then we move on and then want a submission or something else there, and then when you go to apply the submission, it doesn't work. And if you're not a good student, you look for a different submission. If you're a better student, you're going to go back and look and see how can I tighten that up. But if you're really paying attention to jiu-jitsu, you're going to go back to the very beginning and say, which fundamental did I screw up there? And odds are, as you're killing the arm, you're taking your weight off the body. So most of you in the room are putting your elbows or your hands on the mat as you switch your hips. And that moment you became lighter. Right? So you have to practice doing all these motions while maintaining the first part. I want the first part to be perfect, and then I want the second part to be perfect, and then we'll move on. That's the ideal. Never will be, but that's the goal. All right? Some people were asking about your spine and your tailbone. This is subject to change, but one thing I took a couple years ago, or a year or so ago from Glenn actually, that some of you may remember is, go ahead and lay down for me, John. From middle mount. Right? And we all do this inside the closed guard. As you guys know, good SBG students, you know how to tuck your tailbone so you don't get rolled. But from middle mount, it works the same way. So if I'm here, theoretically, I have 100% of my weight on my knees pretty much, and my toes, because my body is not on John and I'm not sitting on him. And I'll make myself heavy and I'll pinch my knees together and I'll ask him to try and push my knee out like he would on an elbow escape, but more emphasis on pushing the knee away.
Out, down?
Yeah, just wherever. Just push it. Yeah, good. Go back. And then you can go back and get to the exact same position, given the exact same pressure, but now I'm going to tuck my tailbone.
Yeah, that's not going in there.
And you can feel the difference. So everybody sit like this. Actually, just sit like this is better. Raise up a little bit. Feel the weight distribution on your legs and your shins. And now tuck your tailbone and feel that weight go more into your legs. Feel yourself, see how your weight starts to move down towards the ankles and your center of gravity goes this way, right? So when I want my center of gravity to go that way, I tuck my tailbone. Which means usually if Coach John was trying to roll away from me, that would be a good time to use that motion because you're pulling his weight back. Right, so now let's talk about the finish. Can I see you do that one more time, Gus? Where you at? Do the exact same way you did when we started. Good. Now, this is how it's typically taught, and this will work, and there's nothing wrong with this. But we want to try and tighten it up, meaning we want it to be more efficient, have better connection. And one thing that happens when you do go for the choke this way, do it again in slow motion. Freeze. You'll get into a battle right here, right? Trying to get that arm across the throat and into the neck, because it's kind of telegraphed. The more you bring your arm in front of the head like this to drop that paper cutter down, the more time they have to see, the less connection you have, right? So instead, good, let me trade spots with you. Can I have you lay down real quick, John? What I'm gonna do, point your feet that way. Yeah. So I'm not gonna actually put any weight on him or anything like that because I'm not gonna use my arm, but just watch my left arm, okay? So from this spot, I don't wanna lift up here and give him that. So when I attack from this direction, I'm just gonna bring my elbow in like this. So at no point am I lifting my elbow in front of his face. So you see my hands off the mat. It's also why make sure you're going palm up. That'll help you keep your hand off the mat. If you're holding like this, it's just too easy to tap the mat. So I'm here, and I move my body down a little bit just so I can get that. That's all I want right now. Tuck your chin. Tuck your chin. Right? And ideally one smooth motion, but I'm not lifting up at all. So when you come in from this direction, when I come in from this direction, it's the same. But I'm gonna start like this, okay? And if he notices what I'm doing and he starts to tuck his chin a little bit, I open my hand. And you'll notice that the pressure is here, above his jawline. Because if I go right away, if I get greedy and go right away here, tuck your chin and turn your face towards me. Yeah, then you're like this. How many of you found yourself like this when you're trying to finish the person, right? We all get here. But when I go here and I just open up my hand like this, turn your face towards me, tuck your chin, he can't. And then I just sneak it in a little more, sneak it in a little more, until I get to there. Okay, so the whole time you're connected to their body and just snaking it in. Go from here, and then from here. Now, the final piece, I don't want to talk about the finish. I want you to do it without the finish. But the final piece is, going to borrow you. Go ahead and lay down. You take top. So let's say Coach Frankel's holding top. Travis goes to put his hand in the hip. He kills it. He moves. He kills it. Now he's going to come up and grab the shoulder. You see where his right hand is holding onto that shoulder? And I want you to stop here, and I want you to feel this as a position in and of itself. Stop before you do anything else. Look at his body. Look how his back leg is straightened out, how his right leg is here. Same dragon walk motion from the Mount seminar. He hasn't overshot his weight. He's close, sternum to sternum, but in the right spot. And ask the person to move around a little bit. And feel what that feels like. Feel what it feels like when they push you this way or push you that way. Then snake the hand in from both sides to practice. Now once you get the hand here, what I want you to do is grab the shoulder. I don't want you to worry about sticking your thumb in the gi. Just grab the shoulder. And I want you to look for a perfect 90-degree angle with your arm. Just like that. That 90-degree angle is never going to change. And I don't want you to finish. So no one in this room should tap, because nobody's going to put the choke on. We're just going to go to the spot. Okay, one more time. Yeah. Can you do it the other way?
Yeah. So I'm gonna beat this.
Yeah. Grabbing the shoulder. Now stop. Let them move. Feel what this feels like. The more comfortable you are holding here, the more chance you're going to be able to finish this move. Snake it in. have them, while you're doing it, try and tuck their chin so you can feel every motion they're going to make to try and not let you get to that spot. And then once you get there, you grab the shoulder and then see how close, go back for a second, see how close, put the hand in, John's shoulder is to his wrist here. This is where I want you to extend your body a little bit. Don't push into their neck, just your body. And make sure your arm ends at 90 degrees. Now ask him, can you tuck your chin? Can you get your chin to your shoulder? Either way. Can you lift? Can you move? Can you roll towards me? And feel what that feels like. Feel what your base feels like from this spot. Can you show everything over here so these guys don't complain?
It's mostly just Adam.
Just spin around all the way around. Don't worry about grabbing the gi. Just get a perfect 90 degrees. That's what I want to see, okay? And this is the perfect time to be slow and deliberate and test every little piece along the way. All right? Go!
John.